You're listening to the MGTOW Academy show, your one-stop spot for MGTOW talk. We're in the third season of the show as of right now, and this is episode 5. We're going to have a lot of fun in our podcast today. And yes, I said we, as in plural. If you're not yet settled in, I recommend you get comfortable because I'm joined today by Billy and his friend Sleazy from Bedsore Billy and the Crotch Crickets. You may have heard of them if you've been following me on Twitter recently. Bedsore Billy and the Crotch Crickets are what I would like to call a red pill rock band. That's the term that I came up with, that writes music often, with a dose of humor. So Billy reached out to me via Twitter, and he sent me a message asking me to help spread the word about their music, and I did so happily. And as a side note, for those who do know me best, I love listening to music of all sorts. I listen to all sorts of music. My favorites, bands and artists range from Green Day to Big Time Rush to Elvis, anything that's, rock, classic rock, especially stuff like Eddie Money, Bruce Springsteen, Aerosmith, Van Halen, AC/DC, the Eagles. That is my shit right there, all right? That's my go-to music genre, especially when I'm driving. So when I tell you guys that I really dig the music from Bedsore Billy and the Crotch Crickets, I sincerely mean it. So far, they've released 2 tracks, which will be linked to you down below to check out. The songs are called BNASU, which stands for Bitch Needs a Stick Up in the Wall. That's the name of their 2 songs. So I'm going to end my yapping and get to work. But first, here's a quick preview of their 2 current songs. And now, it's my pleasure to introduce you to my 2 good friends, Billy and Sleazy. How are you guys doing today?
Doing great. Thank you.
Doing great.
Awesome.
Thanks for having us on.
Awesome. Well,
yeah, appreciate it so much.
Of course. Yeah, of course. Well, I'm glad to have you guys here with me. And as always, I appreciate your time. And speaking of time, let's not waste it. Let's start off with a question that you guys actually got from a fan and that you guys forwarded to me. So however you guys want to answer it, if Billy wants to go first and Sleazy wants to go or vice versa, it's up to you guys.
Cool.
The question was, how do you guys get the inspiration for your songs?
Well, I'd say that's pretty easy. Life of women says it all. As I've always said, life of women is like a multifaceted diamond. Each facet's a little different. So anytime from teenage all the way to old as hell. So you've got different challenge, at every facet. Needless to say, there's lots to say.
All right. I see that. Sleazy, is there anything you'd like to add?
I just know that sometimes an experience will just spark an idea and all of a sudden it turns into a song and before you know it, you've got Bitch Needs a Stick Up.
So Bitch Needs a Stick Up is a personal experience of mine. So that song is actually something that I've actually dealt with. And I kind of view that song as a public service announcement, to guys that have not had to deal with that yet, so they don't have to, because sometimes it's not always better on the other side.
That's a good point you made right there. The next question I got for you, I would like to hear about the history of the band. And now that I got 2 people on here, initially for the people that are listening, we were planning on having 1 person, but now we got 2 people here, so that's great. So we can get multiple perspectives. I want to know about the history, of your band. Who came up with the idea? How long did it take to get the band up and running from the moment of conception to actually producing music? What hurdles did you face? What surprised you? I want to hear it all. Go ahead and answer that question.
Sleazy, what would you say? I think it basically really didn't take much time at all. This sort of happened. It just sort of gelled. We've known each other a long time, so it's more of a fusion, if you will. Personal experiences, talking shit, if you will, and talking about the different things that we've both been through in life, and basically just turned into seeds that have grown into songs, if you will.
Yeah, and I went over to Billy's house one day and he said, hey, check this out. This is possibly an idea for a song. And he played me what was a very, very early version of Banassu, as we call it. And I said, man, you got something there. So we kind of fleshed it out a little bit. and we put just a loop behind it just to get some rhythm going. We ended up pulling in another one of our friends, Gracie, to do the drums once we kind of had a full song. Then we ended up calling a producer we know. He doesn't want to be associated with us, but he loves taking our money, but he doesn't want his name on our record. Whatever. Anyway, but there's no arguing with the fact that he's made this music sound great. We'll give him that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome. That's an interesting story. All right. So I would like to, after considering and taking in mind the story y'all just shared with us, I want to go back to the two songs that you've released thus far and talk about them a little bit more in depth. As I said, the YouTube description and such does give us a little bit of more detail. And you just talked about, Billy, you just talked about how that was a personal experience from you. So that was with Bitch Needs to Stick Up.
And most of them do need a stick up. Most of them do need a stick up.
Most of them do. That's right. That's right. Well, yeah. Going back to those two songs, I just want to hear about how the songs were, created. How long did it take to write them? Did you? And another question: did you have like laughing fits while recording? I just want to hear the entire story of the creation process of those two songs.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think it's probably about 3-1. 3-1 laughing. 1 part song. But it's just when you start to break down experiences and things you notice, observation, is a powerful tool. It's a powerful inspiration, if you will. So the song The Wall, so going back a step, Bitch Need to Stick Up is a song that I wrote a long time ago, probably in 11th or 12th grade in school.
Oh, wow.
So it just goes to show that certain things don't change. And I've just been kind of sitting on it because of the, sleazy, what was the term we used earlier? The woke world as it is now.
Oh, yeah.
It's, you really have to think twice about how you expose these things. But as we found, you've got a lot of people, a lot of guys that really resonated with the stuff,
They've adopted the band.
We didn't know, but right, exactly. So as far as The Wall goes, it's kind of a summation of female nature, if you will. Starting out when they're younger, they've got it's a term called sexual marketplace, if you will. Their looks are currency in their world,
right?
And they use sex as a tool to get shit, and they fuck over any guy. I'm talking about women with no morals. There are good women out there, but it seems like very few. We're talking about hardcore bare female nature. And so if you look at it from that point of view, you see, if you listen to the first line, you think you're baby girl, hot shit, right? That line right there sums up the attitude of most young girls that are being, coded to act and think a certain way, right?
Right.
Disney does it all for us. You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
So then, they get a little older. Basically, that simply is expanded upon in their culture. And it's not just in the U.S., any Western type culture. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Asia, Europe, et cetera, You see it, you see it everywhere. But basically, they gold dig, guys that have money. And it's like you see good men, getting ruined. And it's like this song, again, is a public service announcement for guys that don't have any idea. I wish I had that kind of message, when I was younger, so I could save a lot of money and waste of time. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, you can look at the song and it kind of tells a story for the entire lifespan of a woman from teen years, where they start to grow tits, all the way to where they're old and they have to wear camouflage, to hide their gut. You know what I'm saying? It really speaks of the full cycle of life, for a woman.
Right.
Hopefully that information is helpful, for this, the time that we have here tonight.
All right. That was a pretty solid answer. Before I do respond to that, Sleazy, do you have anything to add?
Well, Billy's really the brains of the operation. I'm just like, where's the food and where are the bitches? It's a really different type of... So, no, I don't have anything to add.
Always got to know where the bitches are.
That's right.
I will say that at times a concept will reveal itself when you start writing music. We've realized we're working on our third track now, and this next one is really going to be an anthem. I think you're going to like this one just as much. It's just, it's interesting. We're just getting rolling. Sometimes, you can write music that addresses different topics and leads in different directions, but at the end of the day, if it's all honest and it feels like it all belongs on the same record, then that really is what has always inspired me about other bands that I've liked through the ages,
Absolutely.
Whether it was Kiss or some of the hard rock bands in the 80s or whatever. That's the stuff that I really like and that I'm hoping we're able to pull off.
Well said, brother. Well said.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, responding to that, yeah, you guys made some great points, and I love it when I get to hear about, the artists themselves talk about the lyrics. Like, what do you guys say? Oh yeah, when we wrote about this lyrics, we were talking about that. That's the type of stuff I like to hear, because you just can't get that no matter how much you bang your head and try to interpret what does the lyrics mean, even if it's right in front of you. Hearing it from the mouths of the people who made it themselves, that's just an insanely cool experience. So, and also, going back to what Billy said about the song "The Wall," you're absolutely right that it is quite an interesting phenomenon to see that happen, because their entire lives, essentially, that's their method of getting by.
Exactly.
Unlike people who have to, actually do work, put forth effort to see results. They get a free pass, and hey, that's fine until that thing that you've been using kind of runs out. It's kind of like winning the lottery, and then you spend your money financially irresponsibly, and then you're broke by the age of 30, which is kind of what happens with The Wall, because you went out of it at 30, right? So it's a really interesting phenomenon to see that happen, and that's a really great song that puts it into perspective.
I appreciate it.
Of course.
I appreciate it so much.
Anytime. All right, so. And yes, I'm glad to hear that you guys had those laughing fits during the recording. I mean, sometimes I sing it out loud, and then I just burst out laughing because I realize what I'm singing about, and it's so freaking cool. All right, well, next.
We do it now.
That's right. So speaking for everyone in the band as best as he possibly could, what does a typical week look like in terms of producing music? And as you guys said, you're working on your third song as of right now.
Well, it's I would say it's not a very traditional method, if you will. Pretty much just sort of happens. We get more done in a short amount of time, just kind of falls into place, I guess. We kind of get the seed going and kind of focus on the seed on our own time. And then, we, especially with COVID and everything, we do everything online. But once we get in the mode, everything just sort of happens. The process is getting better over time, which is nice.
Okay, yeah, that's actually a question that I was going to kind of follow up with next. I was just wondering, now that you guys are in the hang of things just a little bit, right? How does that work in terms of producing? Because you just said that the process does get easier, but overall, like coming up with ideas and writing songs and everything else, does it get easier? Do you ever run out of ideas? How does that exactly work?
Well, I think it'd be pretty easy to say that, there's no shortage of song topics. Just got to take a good look around, and there's a whole suite of things to talk about. So I would say the songs are to a certain level self-inspiring, if you get my meaning.
Right.
So basically, we just have certain concepts. I know that's what we've both done, in terms of coming up with song seeds, if you will. It's just a matter of, what seed do we want to focus on next? We've got a whole suite of song seeds, if you will. It's just a matter of time and fitting that in and, what we want to do next and try to prioritize things.
All right. That was a pretty solid answer. So the next question I wanted to ask for you guys, it's kind of connected. I wanted to know that for someone like me, who really isn't a music expert per se, but I like listening to music, but I'm not someone who could, exactly make music. So for people like me, would you mind explaining the process of writing a song and ultimately an entire album? Like, what is that like? Because you guys have actually done it. So I want to hear it from you.
Well, Sleazy, would you concur with the fact that really an album is just a compilation of different songs And depending on what kind of album you want to make would really be about what the focus of the songs are, So this being our first album, the first album really has to make an impact, if you will. So these topics that we're focusing on are kind of epic in a sense. These are core values to not just MGTOW, but to men's health. When I say men's health, I'm not talking about the wang, I'm talking about, the soul and their lives, These are tools that they can listen to these songs and use them as a toolkit when they get older, what to watch out for, such that they don't need to go through these nasty, I use the word nasty for many reasons, nasty experiences in their lives. Would you say that's right, Sleazy?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, that sounds good. I appreciate that answer. So yeah, that's a nice answer. I like the way that you guys verbalize things. Typically, whenever I practice these types of interviews, I go over a script, and I always like to imagine how the person I'm interviewing or the people I'm interviewing, how they exactly work together. And it's clear that you guys have been working together. The chemistry between y'all both are natural. It's not going to be sounding forced like you guys are reading off of cards. Like, hey there, Sleazy, how are you? Like, it sounds very natural, and I like that.
I
I really
appreciate it.
like that. Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
it does show in the music. I mean, I'm definitely very impressed. I got to say with the quality of the sound. Like usually whenever people first start out making music and uploading, the first ever stuff, it kind of does sound like crap. But you guys sound like you've been doing it for a fair bit of time. So that's really really impressive with the amount of quality you have in terms of production and the actual lyrical value. I mean, everything's just insane. So that's why I was really happy to take up this opportunity to interview you guys. All right.
Well, thank you so
Well, the
much.
next question I had for y'all was, how did you guys get into music in the first place? Because yes, you're a band now. You got a lot of people together, but if you could tell Billy and Sleazy, maybe y'all could tell your stories of how you got into music. Did you get guitar lessons as a kid? Did you just listen to music on the radio and get inspired? What were your inspirations? What were those milestone moments that made you think, I want to do something with music that led you to where you are now?
Uh, Speaking for myself, I was basically had very few lessons on guitar. When I was about 7 years old, my dad taught me. It's kind of a bonding thing that we did, father and son. And that kind of grew over time. And I didn't really get into learning how to sing until I was about 19. I took opera lessons for a few years. So I did some of that. But I realized that's not exactly what I wanted to do. It's very stiff-necked field of voice, if you will. And so I've been playing guitar as an evolutionary thing. We both have done that, over our lives. So it's just kind of a natural yielding of melody and message, if you will. So, Sleazy, how about you, brother?
Yeah, for me, a friend had a guitar, and I would go over and look at it. I would ask him to play it, and he never seemed to be able to actually play anything. So I would go over and pick it up, and eventually started getting annoyed, because every time I'd come over, I'd pretty much just play with his guitar, and not play whatever Dungeons and Dragons or whatever game he wanted to play. Eventually, actually trashed the guitar, so I had to save and scrape and end up getting my own guitar. I've often thought that he destroyed that thing so that he could get his friend back. Once you start playing music, you don't want to stop.
Exactly. Part of who you are as a person.
That was some good answers there. I want to go back to, I have some responses for Sleazy, but going back to Billy, because you answered first. I understood that you mentioned that your dad kind of taught you, as your way of bonding and stuff, right? That's what some kids do while growing up. They bond with their parents and stuff. So for you, how is your relationship with your dad right now? Like, does he know, like, just explain, does he know about the band and the music that y'all make? Do you just say, oh yeah, I'll play guitar with some friends? Or like, how exactly does that work out now?
Well, my dad passed away about 3.5 years ago. We've always been very close on my dad's side of the family. Everybody plays music, from banjo to fiddle to spoons, even. Anything from country to rock. But yeah, so we've always been close, and he's always backed me up no matter what I've done. And there's certain things you can talk to a father about, you can't talk to a mom about. So needless to say, we've had our own adult men conversations. So if he was here today, I think he'd be happy to hear what we've got to say.
All right, that's a very nice constructed answer, by the way. I hope that you're able to deal with your losses in the best way possible right now. So I appreciate you sharing that with us.
Thank you.
Next, I noticed that you were talking about how you took, I think you said opera lessons. So can you explain that? I'm just curious to know how exactly that works.
Well, how do I word this? What drew me to learning how to sing opera is because, I'm a big fan of singers that are well into their 70s and get better every year. And, you only have one voice. So it was imperative for me to learn how to do things the right way because, it doesn't take very many shitty bands to listen to a singer that can barely pull off a 30-minute set before he can't talk anymore, and that's
right.
Two ends of the stick, if you will, right? What I would like to be, what I definitely don't want to be. I've found in life that most of what we want to do, we find is a result of what we know that we don't want to do. So if you take everything out that you don't want to do, what you're left is with what you do want to do in life. With respect to singing, that was my guide, if you will, my post in the water, if you will, trying to navigate towards that post. So the best way to do that was to take opera lessons. Had a very, very good friend kind of get me going with vocal scales, and I kind of followed in his path. He also took opera lessons. I just tried to get to the point where I had a toolkit to where I could train my voice on my own without having to succumb to, a certain style of music. Because eventually, with the toolkit that they give you, the scales, exercises, on one hand, they're very good because they teach you how to use your voice as a muscle. You warm up, you exercise, you cool down, just as like you're trying to lift weights. It's the same kind of concept. But eventually, these exercises kind of force your vocal style into, an operatic singer, which is fine if that's what you want to do. And that's the reason why I got out of it. Now, I still have that toolkit anytime I want it, but it's really a focus on, having a healthy voice and, getting the most out of what you've been given by God. So that's pretty much how I see it.
All right.
However,
That's a good answer. The reason that I wanted to kind of touch on the opera part a little bit was because one of my, I think probably my top 10 favorite male vocalists is the lead singer of the band Disturbed. Because I watched their live performance on the Conan show, and his voice was absolutely insane. I was like, "Wow, he's got a good voice. I wonder what the secret is." And then someone in the comments was like, "Yeah, he was a classically trained opera singer, or it was something like that." So that's why I was interested in that. All right, Billy, Sleazy, this question's for you. I remember that you almost described that music is sort of like a drug to you. From my personal experience with things that I enjoy doing, no matter how happy or how down I am, just it always gets me going. It always gets me excited. So. Like how exactly does that work for you? Can you describe, some stories and experiences where you would compare music to a drug in your experience?
Yes. I knew that playing music was addictive when I went a few days without picking up a guitar or writing a song or anything like that. It was like some sort of a withdrawal situation. It's weird. It's like I remember going on a trip for a week and I was going nuts. And when I finally got back, the first thing I wanted to do was pick up my guitar, and I must have played it for 5 hours that day. It just kind of becomes part of who you are, and the more you do it, the better you get at it. And, it's that whole 10,000 hours thing. You get proficient at something, you want to do it more, and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy in that regard. And as anything is in life, when you're striving for excellence, one thing that Billy and I discussed when we got this together was that we wanted to make sure we could convey Billy's ideas, but we also realized that if the music wasn't there, we couldn't back it up because people would think we were a joke, right? So everybody in this band can play, and everybody's a stellar musician. And we've got a story to tell. We're kind of a triple threat in that regard.
Okay. All right. That's a good answer. Thank you, Sleazy. Yeah, that kind of leads to the next question I was going to ask you because you were talking about how everyone in the band, is very skilled at what they do. So, whoever wants to answer this, I don't really care. Just give me an overview of like the band members because when you look at the name Bedsore Billy and the Crotch Crickets, how many crickets are there? Are there two of them? Are there five of them? Are there 10? No. So, just go over what names they go by and what positions they're in: guitar, vocals, bass, drums, tuba, saxophone, piano, accordion, whatever you have. I want to hear that.
Well, Sleazy, guitar, and I play some bass. We've got Greasy, who plays drums, and he does our artwork, the beautiful artwork and the logos you see, that's all him. And then, of course, Billy plays bass and guitar. Whoever's right for the part of the song, that's who ends up playing it. We don't worry about that as much as just making sure we get it down.
Great tool for that job.
All right, yeah, that was a good answer. And by the way, for those of you who are listening to this, maybe you're watching on YouTube, watching this on a podcast platform. If you look at the thumbnail, all right, that art, the background art, the logo, all that stuff, aside from the MGTOW Academy show and the season 3, episode 5 stuff, that's all them. They made all that stuff. Like I was actually surprised. Like, y'all made that? Like, that's pretty damn good. Like, it wasn't until I got to look at the second one that you sent me, Billy, over Twitter, the message. I didn't realize that was hand drawn. I was like, holy shit, that's hand drawn. Like, that's good. That's really good stuff y'all got there. So when you guys say you're talented in various means, you definitely mean it. Wow. Like, they're really freaking good at that. All right. Well, compliments to the artist on that. Next question. Financially speaking, what investments did you guys have to, do to make, music and get things going? Because I was talking to my friend and then she was like, yeah, I'm going to have to pay for lessons and this and that. And then I was like, does that cost money? Because that was like a lot of shit that she was listing off. So for you guys with the music you make, could you go over like how much it costs to make music? And if you guys make any income yet, just go over that part.
Well, Sleazy, wouldn't you say that? I mean, once you have the recording gear locally, that's a fixed bill, if you will. And then it's just a matter of our producer remotely managing things while we're, cutting tracks. He does the mixing, mastering, et cetera, et cetera. So I guess as far as how much that costs, I mean, aside from individual instrumentation, what would you say that would cost, Sleazy, on a per person basis?
Honestly, I haven't been keeping track of it. I think if we did that, we might not want to keep doing it, but the feedback we've gotten is very positive. We understand it's an investment up front, but we think
absolutely
over time, as the fan base grows, we'll be able to subsidize additional albums moving forward. And obviously, if we playing live shows at some point, that will help as well. There are obviously some challenges involved with us playing shows. We can't really go play at your everyday bar or venue. We have to pick a place that has balls and is willing to take a chance on a group like this.
It's not as woke either.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. I see. Yeah, because you don't want to get canceled as soon as you start to make your first live events and concerts. I understand that entirely. All right. That's a good perspective there. later on down the list, I was actually going to ask about that, but since you brought it up, Sleazy, let's go ahead and cover that now. I was listening to this and I was like, dude, I wonder what the live shows are going to be like. So, I believe you were talking about performing at bars and stuff. How far away are you guys from, doing like live concerts? And what do you see happening? Do you see, starting off with local venues and going to a local tour? How exactly do you guys have a mental roadmap of that planned out? And explain that, please.
Well, interestingly enough, we were just about to start rehearsals when COVID hit. We don't exactly have a blueprint for that yet. We're going to have to see how it plays out, how much live music comes back, just adapt that way. So this may have to be a question that we table for a future episode.
We would love to play out. We've got lots of concepts, but we really haven't had, the chance to put too much thought into them, given, COVID and things of that sort. So it kind of takes the wind out of your sail, when you're not able, to move forward on things. And got a lot of great concepts, a lot of wild ideas. Yeah, I guess we'll just kind of, leave it there, when that time comes, when we can play out, we'll definitely have all that info for you.
All right. So this is a quick answer. I'm trying to guess. So when you guys record stuff, I believe you said that one song was recorded together and then one was done remotely. Do you guys like have like a studio in your room, or do you guys have like those absorbent pad thing? I forgot what they're called. Those absorbent sound mats you put up on the wall. I want to hear about how you guys are able to get the quality the way it is, and in addition to the producer. So would you mind explaining that part, the hardware, the software? That is something I'm also interested in.
Sleazy, you might. Oh, okay. I know, that's fine. That's fine. We each have one room in our homes that is dedicated music recording room, if you will. And in that room, we've got our PC with the software, we've got interface hardware, we've got the mics, and on the walls we have foam placed in certain areas to make it very flat. So you don't have any phantom sounds coming in that kind of offsets the actual thing you would hear when you play the song for other people elsewhere, whether it be online, DVD player, whatnot. There's, it's all pretty much standard grade gear. You've got hardware that basically keeps resonant sound coming back on the mic from the walls. The name of that escapes me for some odd reason. Sleazy, you could probably tell us what that is off the top of your head. Right. Pro Tools, high-end mics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, everything is either Thunderbolt or I'm using USB, for my adapter. I've got plans to upgrade, to better hardware. So we have plans to invest in what we're doing. We want it to sound the best. We want to have the best songs, the best production, etc. That's all part of the plan. We've got short, mid, and long-term goals for every phase of the band.
Right. Okay, I see that. All right. So the next question I want to kind of go back to, this will be an overall explanation for, what you guys are trying to accomplish, which you did elaborate on a bit back earlier, Billy. You elaborated on that when I was, asking about, who you are, what you do and stuff. When we first started recording this podcast, I described you guys as a red pill rock band. So, and you guys said before recording that you were okay with that term. So kind of elaborate on that. Why would you guys call yourself a red pill rock band? And what's your overall, higher goal? And what's your personal stories in this and that?
Public service announcements for men. This is a pro-men group, pro-men songs, whether it's public service announcements or just, sharing experiences, very similar to the way fathers teach their sons. Now, this is not a age-focused effort, but it does have some of that in it with respect to, should a younger person, if I was a man at 18, 19 years old, and I heard these songs, the first thing that would go through my mind is, what the hell is this all about? And it would cause me to want to, find out, well, that's the jewel right there. It causes people to figure out what these songs actually mean, right? And then
Right.
you would go and talk to somebody else that that's older, and they would be able to tell you all about it, right? So, public service announcements. It's a pro men band. Not to say that it's anti-women, but it's not about being anti-women. Red Pill is about understanding female nature. It's about being for the man, men being healthy emotionally, financially, and physically, right?
All right, that was a pretty good response. I like that right there. And don't forget that we also have the comment section and just the internet in general, where people can go onto a forum like, "Hey guys, check out this band I just came across." Like that'd be pretty freaking cool. You can just go to the comments. Don't even have to worry about talking. Like I don't know about you, but for me, if I went to, let's say I'm younger, dude, if I went to my parents like, "Mom, Dad, look what I found. What is this song about?" The
Right.
reaction would be so
Exactly.
freaking funny. But having the YouTube comment section, for example, is another great place where you can get some feedback and have some conversation stuff. And then
Oh
there's you
yeah,
guys,
absolutely.
yourself. You can ask, "Hey, what did you mean when you were talking about this?" or something like that. So that's a really great element. Great answer. So,
Absolutely.
is there, Billy or Sleazy, both of y'all can answer this because I'm sure there's something you can say for this. What is what's your favorite red pill moment, if you will, that you would like to share where the listener is able to derive value or learn a lesson or two from that moment?
Where do I start? Wow. When you say red pill moment, can you elaborate on that a little bit, please?
Preferably sticking towards the concepts of MGTOW stuff, but honestly, red pill just generally means a truth moment, right? Where you have your previous perceptions of something, anything, destroyed, and you understand the actuality of something. And like I said, it could be anything you like, but preferably if you're able to make it related to MGTOW.
I think the reason MGTOW was around is because female nature has been eating men up for decades and much, much more. So I think it's, you know, myself specifically, I would say that, I have many MGTOW or many red pill moments. And of course, red pill is always hindsight, right? It's after you get fucked over, if you will, by a woman, typically on some shade of gray of like gold digging, whether it be covert, overt, or somewhere in the middle. Typically, as an honest person, women view that as let's just say the wrong type of woman would view that as low hanging fruit, if you know what I'm saying. So anybody that is an honest man and has run into these types of women will experience the same things. It's not like it's something new. It's been going on for, thousands of years. So it's sexual marketplace to get money, to get resources, right? And that's pretty much, everybody's dealt with it.
Right.
It's the same old thing, right? So, we've all been there. I hope that you haven't been there, but I think you understand what I'm saying. I think
Yeah.
men are, the odds are good that, a good man is going to get there at some point in time. And it's just a matter of how long it takes for him to wise up. Some do, some don't. Some have to operate in, a covert manner to, maximize happiness in whatever kind of relationship he's in. I would say, is in terms of my own personal experiences, you just got to listen to the songs. There's a lot of personal experiences in there.
Right. Right.
One specific period of time, dated this gal, and she was somewhat younger than I was, but I guess that's really the goal of what men do to a certain level.
Yep.
And I didn't realize at the time that, all she was out for is, the money, smart guy, got a good job. And when they see that, it's like sharks and, blood water, if you will. And they just go for the gold. hence Gold Digger. But and so I basically caught her in her little scheme and kicked her ass back to her parents' house without her knowing about it. A 2-week break of me going overseas turned out to be the rest of her life. So I sent the dog. I sent everything. The day that she left on her flight, I sent all of her shit home with her.
Wow. That's pretty interesting experience. Yeah, absolutely.
We have a certain name for that operation, but I'm not going to say that right now. I think that would give things away a little bit too much.
All right. I understand that. Sleazy, is there anything you like to add to that question?
I will say that for me, there was a female cricket that I liked quite a bit. I kept asking her out every time she would put me off, and finally I put her on the spot and I said, "So when are we going to go out?" And she said, when I graduate. And the way she said it, there was always going to be an excuse, and then I had to start looking at things from a different perspective. And that's when the light bulb moment happened for me.
So you had to drop her like use condom, Sleazy.
That's it. Yeah, that's an interesting story. I gotta tell you guys about when you were talking about. I think Billy was the one who said you haven't been there yet, hopefully, or something like that. I'm glad I haven't. I've had close calls, and I mean close calls. Like the bus almost hit me, but it passed me by an inch. Like that close of a call. I'll tell you about it personally. Okay, this happened back when I was in 8th grade. Okay, so I discovered MGTOW. I discovered MGTOW when I was about like 13, somewhere around that number. So at this point in 8th grade, I was pretty familiar with its concepts, but I mean, still getting the ideas and this and that, but I was rather familiar with it. I'd seen all the Gold Digger videos and all that sort of stuff. Everything you can think of on YouTube, all those compilations, I've seen them. So I remember one day I was getting out of the car line to drop us off, at the beginning of the day, and I got out of my mom's car. And she drives a Mercedes. She drives a GLK 350 Mercedes. So what I found unusual in my first period class, guys, was, I was just, minding my own business. And I was hanging out with my friends, just having a good time. And this one girl who never really talked to me before was like, hey, MGTOW Academy, does your mom drive a Mercedes? And I'm like, yeah, she does. And then she was like, okay, cool. And I'm like, what the fuck was that? Like I was not, I didn't say that, but I was like, that's kind of random. Right. Like it's not, I haven't seen you talk about cars enthusiastically. Like, oh my God, guys, I love cars. Not like a car expert or an enthusiast or anything, there's not any normal indications as to why that would happen. So over the next few days, all right, I noticed that she would try to just, talk to me out of the blue. This never happened before. And there was no reason. I didn't change anything drastically. I didn't get a haircut. I didn't get surgery and get ab implants or something or whatever. I didn't do anything. I was the exact same person. The only difference is that, now she knows that my mom drives a Mercedes. So where do you think that led me to think? So I saw that stuff, the alarms in my head were going off as soon as it happened that day in first period. So look, long story short, I have another teacher. And the important detail here is that this teacher is a girl. She's a female, which is why it drastically changed the outcome of this, right? She, for a summary, is a good teacher, and she cares about us, all right? She spends her own pocket money to buy us books. She takes the time to talk to us, that sort of stuff. She goes above and beyond. She's one of those teachers. So believe me when I tell you that I'm definitely glad to have had her as my teacher. And she is not the person who deserves something bad to happen to her. So anyways, she's a good teacher, but she will make sure you do your work. She doesn't joke around with that. So long story short, that girl, the same girl who asked me about my mom's car for no suspicious reasons, of course, falsely accused that teacher of with inner quotations, making her uncomfortable. And I was like, what in the hell just happened? So I was so confused because the teacher came up to us. She was almost in tears one day. And she was like, someone went to the office and said that I made them uncomfortable. And like I said, she goes above and beyond. She gives out hugs, all that sort of stuff. And the hugs is what was used against her. I mean, there are many people that go to school, don't even have physical contact. They don't have families that care for them. They don't give a shit. And here she is. She gives out hugs. She gives out food every now and then if needed. So, I mean, she's doing the right thing clearly. And now she was falsely accused of making a student uncomfortable for that. And then I was like, oh, I wonder who did that. And then a few days later, that girl who was asking about the Mercedes in the same class, just non-casually. So she just said, "Oh yeah, I falsely accused Miss So and So of that. I just reported her to the front office. She wasn't giving me a good grade, and that sort of stuff." I was just like, "What the fuck?" Like that. I mean, that's just so messed up beyond levels. And that teacher, while she was very vocal about her dislike for the right side of politics, so to speak, and Donald Trump and Mike Pence and all that, she did say that, you know what, even though I don't really like them, one thing I absolutely understand and respect is the Mike Pence rule, which is where he doesn't want to meet alone with a female
Absolutely.
acquaintance alone. He wants to have a witness. And she said that, by the way, before all this stuff happened. And then she told us one day, you know what? When I said that, man, I had no idea how much more I can understand and appreciate, the thing that he does. So, I mean, that was just a freaking, I mean, wow. I mean, I saw that red flag, from a mile away, but
Yeah.
holy shit, like I had no idea that would happen. And dude, freaking now I was required to make an Instagram account for our school when we went to remote learning. Not that I like to use Instagram. I don't use it still. But when I made it, I was like, all right, let's go see who's on here. And dude, just like with any Instagram comment, any Instagram comment section on a girl, holy shit. I mean, I'm just like trying to tell those people, watch out. You're swimming in shark infested waters. You're about to step into a trap.
Right.
Like they don't.
Yeah,
I
it's
just feel like
amazing.
some guys don't know that sort of shit. Like that's insane. Like there's going to be some poor guy in the future who's going to come across and be like, oh, she's so innocent, and lovely, and not know that she almost fucked over a teacher in middle school. Like that shit is insane. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Evil nature.
Yeah.
That's for sure. I'm sorry. I'm sorry you had to deal with that.
Unfortunately, this is where I need to get off of the bus, but I just wanted to thank you for having me on and let Billy finish up the interview. He's the brains behind the operation anyway, so nonetheless, please keep up the great work you're doing. It's definitely needed, and can't wait to be on here again at some point in the future. Thanks again for supporting us.
Of course, anytime, Sleazy. Thank you for showing up. We appreciate that.
All right, guys. Talk to you soon. Bye.
And see you, buddy.
All right.
Bye.
See you later. All right. Cool. Well, anyways, for those of you who don't know, Sleazy had to go ahead and check out. So we appreciate you coming on, Sleazy. But Billy's still here with us for a little bit longer. We're not going to stay on for hours and hours and hours, but we do have a couple more topics to go over and discuss. By the way, Billy, if you ever need to go out and take care of anything, I'm not holding you up. All right. So whatever makes you comfortable, whatever works for you, we're happy to make that work. All right. All right. Sweet.
All right,
So like now that we're talking about, before I wanted to start off with talking about band, things and logistics, whatever you want to call it. But now we're talking about the more, MGTOW-ish, red pill stuff. So, I mean, I just got to ask you about your personal, viewpoint, because that's part of why I like doing these interviews so much, is because every single guest that I bring on has a different life experience, a different viewpoint. And, when you try to understand things from multiple views, you're going to get something out of it, like it or not. No matter how big or insignificant, you're going to get something out of it. So I want to ask you, what do you believe that the future of, just for guys in general, what does it look like? And how is that going to relate to things like MGTOW and the ideas that you're talking about in your song? Just whatever you want to say. Free for all, if you will.
Well, it's hard to tell what's going to happen. God is in charge. And, as far as that goes, really don't know what's going to happen. But based on the red pill concept, in terms of the cultural trend, I guess that's probably what you're asking about, right? The cultural trend of how things will go in the future.
Yep.
It's really hard. It's really hard to say. I think education is very important. Education, for young men, for all men, is probably paramount. I figure, you've got men that are married that understand about red pill, that are using it as a means to understand female nature better. Now, that's not to say that all women are bad, all wives are bad, but you've got good and bad in every bunch, every culture. It's human nature, it's spirit versus the flesh. And
right,
a person, or specifically, a woman, chooses the flesh over the spirit. I don't mean to get religious, but I'm using that as a way to differentiate the two.
That's okay.
Then you really don't know what will happen. But I think it's good that people understand what the possibilities are. And I think, as long as you know what to look out for, then you are better prepared than the person that does not know what to look out for, what the possibilities are. And that's really kind of what we're talking about with the songs and the red pill movement, overall. I think that's what it's also doing, is to educate people on the nature of things. And not to say that everybody can't brush with ultra broad strokes, but I would say that, the majority of culture has eroded over time from a viewpoint of a value system compared to what it was versus what it is now. You don't have to look very hard to see differences, if you will. You know what I mean?
Right. I do know what you mean. And I like that perspective. I like that answer. So, is it all right if I can ask if you were married before?
I am not married.
Oh, so you were never married at all?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay. Have you ever come close to getting married before?
I have.
You have? Oh, okay. Would you mind explaining the story that kind of pushed you away from deciding to get married?
It's the same story that I just told you about
Oh, okay.
living girlfriend, moving towards that. We were officially engaged, but it didn't take very long to ascertain the essence of where things were and where things were going, or the actual case where things were not going.
Okay.
When you when you have to go to bed early because you get up. You have to go to bed early because you get up early in the morning to get to work, and your fiance is down in the basement having phone sex. I'd say that's a pretty hardcore red pill moment. That's one of many things that I've had to deal with.
Wow.
Not to mention certain aspects of the next song that we put out, and you'll learn other facets. That song also comes from a very personal point of view.
All right, I see that. Well, I can totally understand why you definitely leave after that happened with the phone sex stuff. Yeah, I gotta definitely agree with you on the aspect that we are at a point where technology is playing a role that's just ignorable at this point. Like, you can't deny the change that technology is going to be having and how people make decisions in their lives. And I mean, every day, we're seeing articles. I think we're just seeing the media catch up to what we're doing. I mean, typically, when the media reports on our arena of subjects, so to speak, where what's it called, the neckbeard losers, virgins living in our mother's basement. You've heard that stuff before.
Exactly.
You don't have to. You don't need me to elaborate on that. But I mean, then we're seeing articles coming out every day. They give you a good chuckle. Let me think. Today I stumbled across an article. It was like men in Men in America, men around the West or whatever are refusing to get married. Want the will to get married. It's decreasing, all that sort of stuff. And then you see some clown article come up a few days later. Men aren't making enough money and it's hurting women. And then there's another article about how it's our fault and some other stuff. And look, I have no problem with accepting responsibility, but man, is everything really our fault? Like, really? Everything's our fault? Yeah. We're not making enough money and that's still our fault, man. Come on, give us a break. So, exactly. I mean, it's really, it's really funny to see the news articles that come out. They're like, MGTOWs are a bunch of losers who don't know how to get a girl. And it's like, well, men aren't getting married. What are they doing? We need to have more family units established to have a successful future. So it's just absolutely hilarious to see that shit come out. And I mean, it's just everything that MGTOW is kind of pointing out to and explaining. I've yet to find it incorrect, right? Otherwise, I would have questioned that or changed that aspect or left it. But the reason that I'm still here doing this MGTOW Academy stuff is because I like to have my views and things challenged. It's because I want to put my views up to the test. Because if they're ultimately true, then they shouldn't have any problem. And that's true. I mean, I've yet to come across any circumstance where MGTOW is, the wrong answer, so to speak. And every single day, more and more, that faith, I don't want to say faith, but that confidence, that's the better word, confidence that I have in the idea of going your own way only gets reinforced day by day.
It's a personal choice. It's a choice that everybody needs to make on their own. Life is a personal choice. Nobody can really say anything about it. It's your own personal choice. If there's a reason that they're pissed off, it's because they're not getting half your shit into. That's pretty much where it all ends.
So, Billy, do your close friends, coworkers, family members want to? Do they know about the band that you're in, or is that like a secret operation? What's that like?
It's a very small circle, a very small circle. Pretty much none of my family members know. I don't really want to. I don't want to use the phrase drag them into this, but plausible deniability is your friend, right?
I understand 100%. It's the same story here. No one knows what I do it for. Why do you have microphones
Right.
in your room? I sing, which is true. I do sing, but that's not the only reason.
Oh, nice, nice.
Yeah, gotta do that karaoke. You know what I'm saying? Alrighty.
Exactly.
So going back, a quick question about the live events y'all were talking about a bit back when
Sure.
Sleazy was on. Do you guys
Right.
like? Are you gonna guys like cover your face, like have like a mask on, like do an anonymous type of band thing? What's the plan for that for live events?
Well, I think it would be advantageous to have some kind of covering. Of course, now with COVID around, might be easier than we think. So it's hard to say. It's hard to say. I don't know. I think to emphasize and maximize the image of the band. We've got some concepts to where we would possibly put on some accessories, if you will, right? Maybe beard or hat or something, cricket suit.
Cricket suit. I like that. I like that. That's pretty good. Yeah, I was thinking of that band, the Network. That's like what Green Day does. They have their,
Right,
Green Day have their own thing, and then they have the Network, where they're
right.
totally not related, but they just so happen to have the same amount of people. They sound the same, they look the same, but they're not the same. They just have a mask on.
Exactly,
All right,
exactly.
cool. All right, cool. So, from your perspective, what is a vital life lesson that music has taught you? And what I mean by that is there's what I would call, just life lessons in general that everyone can learn, or skills, even. For example, when I'm talking about skills, I might be talking about learning about teamwork. You can learn that from multiple ways. You can do a project in
Hmm.
school, learn about teamwork. You can do martial arts, or play a team sport, or work in a business. There's multiple ways to learn different skills or life lessons. What is a skill or a life lesson that music has taught you?
Well, I would probably say the first lesson I learned from music is, to never give up. Because if you do, you give up on yourself. And, when you're trying to better yourself musically, when you don't give up and you have that moment where you've achieved things that you couldn't really do in the past, it's such a wonderful motivator to do other things. And it doesn't stop with the music. You look back on those times that you have broken through musically, and you apply them to other factors, other facets of your life, other things that you want to do, whether it be with school, jobs, tangible buildings, if you will, things you're trying to build, whether it be, put a fence up or, build a wall in a house. I mean, it could be anything. And I've
Right.
dealt with a lot of,
Right. Okay.
different things. Yeah. Never give up.
All right. All right. That's a good lesson there. And I can understand completely how, music can teach you skills and lessons that are transferable. I like how you made those many examples there. Hey, so
Right.
on the note of making content stuff, this can be something directed towards you as an individual or something that was directed at the band. What was the most, demotivating thing? It can be like an insult or criticism that wasn't constructive that somebody ever said to you or the band, and how exactly did you handle that criticism? How did you respond? How did you bounce back? What happened?
Well, grace. You always have to have grace with everything you do, everything you deal with. Often, I think there's so much that is misunderstood or misinterpreted. And even though somebody might be trying to insult you, you always have to rise over it, because even though it might not be what you want to hear, but the fact that people listen enough to give you that feedback says more, more than you really understand at that point in time.
All right. All right. I like that answer right there. So the last question that I wanted to close out with, um, is it's just kind of like a free for all, if you will. This is something I like to do in all my interviews. Is to give that platform. Last time I had a guy from a fitness brand that I follow, come over, called Mike Rose, event about aliens, and I asked him, "Hey, what do you want to talk about? Just anything." And the funny thing is, he chose aliens because of his company name. It was so funny because it was kind of random, but also related at the same time. So, hey, Billy, the platform is yours. Is there anything, be any random thing? There's no limitations whatsoever as to what you would like to share with the world.
Don't ever give up on yourself.
I appreciate that, man. That's a pretty good point. Yeah, that's something I always like to ask people. It's a nice way to understand what they want to show, how they feel. Like if you could say something to the world right
Sure.
now, what would it be? That's a good way to look at it. All right, Billy. Well, we're approaching the end of our interview. We got a few more things we got to take care of before we end this. So, first of all, what is in the next few months after this interview is released? What can we expect from Bedsore Billy and the Crotch Crickets? What music can we expect? What events will you guys be maybe being a part of? That sort of stuff.
Well, we've got one song we're almost done with. Got a new song coming out. I'll withhold the name for it, for this point in time, but should be very soon. Don't think we have any current events set up at the moment, but that could always change. And our goal is just to continue to write. Now that we have things moving, got probably at least 2 or 3 other tunes in the hopper. So really, the focus is just start to bang the songs out. Pardon the pun, and let the good times roll.
Right. I see that. Okay. So I'm pretty sure that after hearing you guys talk, the listeners wondering where exactly, we can find you. So you can go ahead and list off the platforms that you're on. And in the description below, once this is released and distributed, I'll have the links to everything you're going to mention available to the listener. So go ahead and share where the listener can find you.
Twitter, have a Twitter account. And I believe we have our YouTube account also.
Yeah, I recall that you guys are on like Pandora or something. I recall seeing that when I did a Google search.
Yeah. There's a whole suite that we have set up.
Yeah, so that's where you're going to be able to find the all the songs and everything for Bedsore Billy and the Crotch Crickets. And as he said, you can check him out on Twitter. All that stuff that he just talked about will be linked to you in the description below, and all the platforms that you can check them out on. So before I go ahead and do my closing remarks, is there anything else you'd like to say?
No, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Of course. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and go through what I have to say. And then, as we had practiced earlier, before we hit record, me and my good friend here, Billy, practiced our special outro dedicated to the year 2020. You'll hear that in a minute. So, as I said, that's all for this episode of the MGTOW Academy show. Again, a very special thank you to Billy and Sleazy for both showing up to the show. We appreciate you guys. And again, a special thank you to the entire band for what you guys are doing. So I bet, like I said, you're probably wondering where you can find these guys and all that sort of stuff. That will be linked to you again in the description below. Check them out. They got great stuff, great music, and really, really great stuff coming soon. So if you want to reach me, my email address is mgtowacademy.media@gmail.com, and my Twitter handle is at all caps MGTOW followed by Academy. The first N Academy is capitalized. If you'd like to support MGTOW Academy, that means the MGTOW Academy show, the MGTOW Academy show live, MGTOW stories, and everything else I'm doing behind the scenes. You can support me via PayPal or Patreon. More information on that is in the description for you. And as always, please leave any comments if the platform you're on allows it, and I'll get back to you. So it's more than likely that you're listening to this after the year 2020 has ended. But as of right now, we are still in hell. That's right. We're actually a few years away. I'm sorry, not a few years. A few hours away from New Year's Eve. It's what time is it? It's 10:25 Eastern Standard Time as of right now, December 30th, 2020. So the year hasn't ended for us yet, believe it or not. But I am so ready for this year to be over. And look, I'm grateful for all the opportunities I had, dude. But like the interview I'm doing right now, I'm thankful for that. But I hate this year. It ruined me. I hate it so much. 2020 can get penetrated by a cactus for all I could care. So me and my good friend Billy here have a message for 2020. Are you ready for the outro, Billy?
Let's do it.
All right. F you on 3. 1, 2, 3. Fuck you, 2020.
Oh, yeah.
All right. That's our show. Thank you guys for listening, and I'll see you guys soon.